Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Business podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Lynn Simon, and today we have the incredible Stacey Chillemi joining us. So Stacey is a renowned 20-time best-selling author. She's a speaker, she's a coach, she's a podcaster, and I've actually had the honor and privilege of being a guest on her podcast several times. Her podcast, The Advisor, is an absolute must listen for both men and women who are tackling any range of challenges in their personal and professional life. You may have seen Stacey on the Dr. Oz show or numerous other shows in news media. She's been featured in Psychology Today, Insider, Business Insider. She's collaborated with influential thought leaders like Arianna Huffington, and her knowledge and insight, I'm telling you, it knows absolutely no bounds. So I am super, super thrilled to have her joining us on my podcast today. So Stacey, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shauna Lynn, for having me on your show. I'm very excited to be here.
I am super stoked about this. Since the first time we recorded, I recorded an episode with you, I love the energy that you have. And, there's so much alignment, I think, in how we think about things and the values. And you're just an absolute wealth of knowledge that I just knew that I had to have you on my podcast. So this is truly an honor to have the roles reversed a little bit and kind of changing seats here. So I'm super excited about this. Hopefully, I can do just as well as you did with when our roles were reversed. So we're going to get into things. What we've talked about, sort of our pre-show, we started getting into a conversation. This happens often on podcasting where, you get into these kind of pre-show conversations. And we had a couple of ideas of what we were going to talk about today. And then this conversation came about and we're like, this is what we got to talk about. And we're going to be talking about building your business by not focusing on the money. And I love the idea of exactly exactly how it sounds, that, money should not be our focus. So Stacey, tell me a little bit about this. You do business coaching and you've built a pretty incredible business. I know your podcasting business, especially, you've got so many views on it. You've really built it and you treat it like a business, which a lot of podcasters don't necessarily do, is treat their podcast as a business. So tell me a little bit about how you built your business to start off.
Well, in the beginning, I had struggled with a disorder called epilepsy, and I had gotten it at the age of 5. My mom heard a gurgling sound. She came in the room. She saw me in a ground seizure turning blue. I had previously had a ear infection, and a virus traveled through my brain, caused encephalitis, which put me in a coma, which caused me to have epilepsy. And they thought I was going to be paraplegic or I was going to have severe brain damage. When I came out of the coma, first thing I asked for was McDonald's French fries. I just wanted my McDonald's French fries, and so I didn't have I wasn't paraplegic. I didn't have epilepsy. I didn't have brain damage, but I did have epilepsy, and I struggled my whole life. I had ups and downs. I had goals and objectives in my head that I wanted to do, and especially when I got into college, it was really a struggle because the more stress I was under, the more seizures I had, and I got to the point where I didn't even know if I was going to succeed or reach any of those goals I wanted to attain. And when I got into, I actually wrote an article and I asked the Epilepsy Foundation to publish it in their magazine. I said, how do people cope with epilepsy? Because I looked and I tried to find information, and there was a couple of books that doctors wrote about, this is the symptoms, this is the treatment, blah, 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 or they just wrote it in medical terminology. And if you weren't a doctor, you had no clue what they were talking about. Right. So I was a little pissed about that, and that's when I wrote that letter. And 300 to 400 letters from all over the United States came to my house, and they all shared their stories. They were so inspirational. For the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't alone. I think that's the key. Sometimes we feel like we're in it alone, but there's so many people out there that go through the same things that we go through in life. And I learned from these people. And after college, I got a really good job in the corporate field. I was doing really well, and then one day I just felt like a seizure was coming on and I had nowhere to go. I'm looking around and I just fell to the ground, and there was corporate executives there. One just walked over me and kept walking, and I was awake and conscious, and I couldn't move, but I could see him just stepping over me like I was a piece piece of garbage. And, not too long later, I was released from a position, and I knew it was because I had the seizure, and I wasn't going to let it get to me. And it was at that point where I said, screw it, I'm going to do something on my own. And I just walked out of there and I started doing my own little business. I created a freelance business because I was really good at writing. And I started working with a lot of executives and doing all their presentations and stuff. And then one day I met an herbalist and he needed a lot of research and writing done. And I was like, wow, a lot of these things could help me, and I started applying them to my life, changed my entire lifestyle. And my seizures went from 12, 9, 8, 7 to the point where they became controlled. And I was really, flabbergasted on how I could naturally, control my seizures with the using of medications, but changing my whole entire life made an impact on me. So I want to share it with the world. And so I started a little blog. And then one day I met a web designer. He's like, I can make your website into a really pretty website. And then he did that, and it grew from 400 to 10,000 to 100,000. And I was helping people and not just people with epilepsy. I talked about all medical conditions. And during that time, I wrote a book about epilepsy, You're Not Alone. I took those letters and I took those, all the different things that I had learned, that I created a regiment for myself, and I put it in one big book. Then I got a letter one day in an email. A person said I was on the verge of suicide. I read your book, and I just want you to let you know that you saved my life. And I wanted to say thank you. And I think that's when the light bulb went off and I realized what my true calling was. Because I imagined myself as a News 4 reporter, or maybe, buying Louis Vuitton bags and having a martini on a Friday night, all these dreams that young girls have. And
of course,
but I didn't think about, devoting my entire life to others, like in that respect. And so as soon as I got that email, I realized how powerful the words of wisdom can be. And I wanted to do something to help others because so many people had come out of the woodwork to help me. So I took my passion and I created a business out of it. And I wrote 20 books, and I started doing, coaching, and I started to really do the things I love. And what I have found is that when people focus so much on money, they tend to lose the aspect of why they really came into the business in the first place and why they're doing what they're doing. And I think doing things that you love is a real big motivator to success. And when I looked at business in general, I find that a lot of people either they're very creative and they have such great ideas, but then they don't know how to implement them in a business strategy,
Sure.
and they are great speakers out there, but then they don't have the business strategies to actually build their business. And they are great writers and so forth. And anything you do, you should treat it as a business if you want to succeed and monetize your business. And if you're spending so many hours devoting your entire day, or a good portion of your day, you should be entitled to monetize because you're providing services for others that are helping others. And so, a lot of people might feel guilty that they're helping others, but a doctor, when you go to see the doctor, he gives you a bill at the end of the service.
Pretty hefty one for that matter.
Yeah, I had to be one. I got a pile of them. I got to pay still,
Yeah.
It's like, why shouldn't others? You have to treat everything you do as a business if you want to be successful.
Yeah. And I like what you say about, like you can follow your passion. I think that is a big motivator, especially like, as I work with predominantly female entrepreneurs and women, especially. We like to have that purpose. We like to lead with passion. But then we do still need to make money. Like we'd love to say that we're all altruistic and do everything for the greater good. But there does need to be a way to monetize it, but in a way that doesn't feel salesy, that doesn't focus on, I just need to make 6 figures this year, or I need to make 7 figures, or whatever that looks like. But instead saying, okay, I'm going to focus on what brings me joy, what feeds my soul, that allows me to help others in a way that is authentic and that feels good to me. But I think that where people struggle is it does feel like it's got to be one or the other. It's either I'm making a ton of money or I'm following my passion, but trying to combine the two feels not quite, it doesn't sit well with everyone, because now you feel like, well, how do I charge someone for doing something that I love to do? And how do I charge someone for something that, they really need this? So how do I deny them by saying like, well, if you can't pay for it, you can't have it. So how do you balance that, the passion versus the, I need to make some money? Because, we all have bills to pay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, think of it as this, if you need electric, you have to pay the electric bill. If you need, you need food in order to survive. You can't just go into a food store, get a bag, fill it up and leave. You have to pay for food, So when you're going for a service, even like a psychiatrist or a coach, you're providing them with knowledge that's going to help them grow and elevate to new levels of life. So it's a service, just like everything else. And every service, people are always, they're paid for at the end of their service, so there's no reason why other people can't, do something they love, help others at the same time, and monetize for their services, for the hours that they put in to help people grow and to help others, maintain a lifestyle that's going to make them happy, healthy, and productive.
Right. So tell me a little bit about, how following the passion can, by ignoring the money part of it, how does this help them to essentially make more money?
So when you focus consistently on making more money, you start to get really stressed out. You'll notice that people are, and then they'll start to think, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, and they get all these different ideas, and they're not focusing on one specific area. And it's necessary if you're gonna do well. You really at first you need to start focusing on one specific thing, make that your goal, and then as time goes on, as you start to grow, you can branch out. But you'll see people, they'll be doing this, and then they'll be doing this, and they'll be doing this, but it all has to circle and connect, whatever you're doing, they're all, you unless you're a real estate investor, you'll even see real estate investors, they'll even focus on condominiums, or they'll focus on commercial, or they'll focus on residential, but you don't see them all over the board, and that's what it is, with when it comes to like services that we help people, we have to really focus on one specific thing, and we can branch out little by little, and when it's the right time. But if you can focus on one specific thing and put all your energy into that one thing that you love, you'll see that you start to grow, and you see that you're going to start to flourish little by little. But, if you're focused constantly on the money is not going to come. You're not focusing on what you need to do to grow. You're focusing on the dollar bill. And that's not really the passion why you came into this business in the first place. You came into this business because you love what you do, you're helping others, and you're bringing joy to other people's lives. And that itself brings good energy. I'm a big believer of karma. I'm very big with, spiritualism and putting good energy out there. When you put good energy out there, you receive good energy. And, to me, when people focus too much on money, they get lost, and they lose aspects of what really matters in life. And to me, love and gratitude and the, all the beautiful things we have around us is the things that matter. And when we take it for granted, that's when we kind of get lost in the shuffle. And that's when you start to see the greed start pulling people down. And there's so many people in the past that we've seen in the media, their greed took over, and what happened? They just plummeted.
It's so true. And I've seen that show up in my own life. I mean, when I was first starting out, of course, I started with a home staging business. That was the first business that I had. And I remember that immediately I was like, okay, great. Now that I'm doing home staging, I can also offer decluttering services, and I can offer merchandising for retail stores, and I can offer color consultations. And it morphed into I can do these 20 other things.
Yeah.
And so because I was doing 20 other things and trying to promote 20 different things,
Yes.
no one was really clear about what the heck I was actually doing. And
Yeah.
my messaging wasn't clear. Instead of saying, hey, if you are this person, this is specifically how I can help you, I would say, hey, everyone, whatever you're doing, I can help you. And that's just way too broad and too much. And I mean, I know a lot of people will say to me today, I do have multiple income streams and I do have multiple businesses, but I didn't just one day open a bunch of businesses.
Yeah.
One solidified, and then worked on the next one, and then worked on the next one.
Yes.
And I have definitely found for myself, especially, when you're focusing on one particular service, not even just like one business, but one particular service or offering, and really focusing on nailing that down, instead of just throwing all this stuff on social media and trying to get out to the masses, I would find that I would be able to connect with people on that one-on-one level so much
Yeah.
more. You're building deeper relationships with
Yeah.
people as opposed to these artificial relationships that exist online. I was creating these really meaningful partnerships in real life. And those
Yeah.
partnerships, so many of them continue to serve me to this day. But I had to approach them in this one-to-one manner and not in the how can you help me, but in a how can I help you? And those have done far more for my business than
Mhm.
all the blasts on social media. Don't get me wrong, I'm all over social media. We all are. It is a place to be. You got to be there. But it doesn't necessarily, and yes, you can absolutely grow very successful, very lucrative businesses doing that. But if that's the core of, like, if everyone's just trying to be the next big influencer and get their next video to go viral, we're missing out on how we're serving others. And I think that on back to what you were saying, well, leading with that gratitude, leading with that service aspect of things. And I've got the honor of being able to assist these people and looking at it from that perspective. Yeah. I think it's really powerful what you said there.
Yeah, I think people really have to, focus on, what they really love, and that was my motivator too. It's just I got out of bed, and even when first began my business and I wasn't making much, it was always I still felt energetic to get out of bed because I was doing something that I loved, But I really feel like people have to really treat what they're doing as a business so they can grow, so they can monetize. And once I started focused on one specific thing and I put all my energies and eggs in that one basket, I started to grow, and I wasn't thinking about the money. I was just focusing on something I loved, and I was just trying to keep building and figuring out ways and different things to do to be able to grow and flourish and I wanted to help others, and that was my main goal. Is like, what can I do to help them, and then so at the same time I was helping others grow, but yet I was monetizing for all the hours I put in too. And like we said before, I think one of the biggest problems I find is people feel very uncomfortable asking for money, and they feel very uncomfortable, saying, well, it's going to be XXX, but they're afraid to ask for money, or they descale themselves where they, they put all these hours into it and they ask for pennies. And, you shouldn't be embarrassed. If you're going to put 7-8 hours into a project, you should really, think about, okay, how much do I want to charge per hour? What are my services worth? And they have to be realistic about it. Like, what are you doing? How many hours are you putting into it? What is it taking you away from? And figure out what the costs are for the services you're providing. And then, organize everything. I tell people, and it's so important, so people go in it and they just, they have a desk and it looks like a garbage dump. Everything,
Yeah.
And it's like you can't focus, you can't run a productive business like that. I have everything in folders on my computer. I have file cabinets, everything's filed under a certain name. You have to have a clear head and know what you're doing, because so many people, they just don't know where to begin. And I think another thing is knowing who your clients are and keeping close tabs with your clients, because you just don't want them to just be there for a short period of time. You want to be able to maintain relationships with your clients. And again, don't be afraid to, ask for money and to monetize off the things that you do well that are going to help others.
Yeah, and there's a few things that you said that I really want to kind of circle back to because they're really important. So talking about pricing yourself, like you said, you've got to identify, what is this worth for me to be able to do this? But also, what have I invested to have the knowledge, the expertise, and the abilities to be able to offer this knowledge, this service, whatever it is. So it's the time that you're putting into it. There's the time that you've invested, again, your skills. But what I also really love that you talked about was, what is this taking you away from? That is something that so many people forget about. And this could be your next big project, or it could be something personal where it's taking time away from your family. And there's a value to that as well, that it's hard to put an actual dollar value on it, but that's because it's immeasurable how much it's worth to have that time with family, with friends, with loved ones. And so you do have to take a look at, if I'm going to spend my time working on this, what is that worth for me? And especially if it's one thing to be offering a service where you're sitting behind a desk, which now that I'm doing predominantly business coaching, I'm mostly sitting behind a desk. So I'm not necessarily having to travel to appointments the same way. But if you're someone who's traveling to appointments. I mean, how many people have said to me over the years of like, oh, I can't believe I had to call a plumber. They charged me $200 just to show up. Well, yeah, because like there's value to them having to get into their vehicle, drive, and they're not able to take on other appointments. So even if they showed up and they weren't even able to actually help you with your whatever the issue was, or maybe it was a 5-minute fix, doesn't matter. That's not what you're paying for. You are paying for the value of their time and what is taken away from other people and other projects and such. You know, I always say my electrician, I called him over here one time. It took 5 minutes, fixed the problem. He sends me a bill for $150 and I paid it gladly. And I posted on social media about it. And I said, I am so thrilled to be paying my electrician $150 for 5 minutes of work. Before y'all get up in arms about this, this is 5 minutes to do something that would have taken me hours to try to do myself and try to figure out myself. So, you know, that's what they're paying you for is they are paying you to alleviate some sort of pain or hurt or problem in their life that you're going to make so much easier for them. So think about what that's worth to them and charge for it, right?
Exactly. And that's such a great point because people will get really antsy, like, oh, I can't believe, you know, you're going to charge for this and this, da, 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 da. But you know what? Like you said, something would have took me like 2-3 hours. What could I have done in those 2-3 hours?
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a business person, what could you do and, you know, to elevate your business that will help you make more money in those 2 hours? And I think one big point that people forget too, and I've been a victim of this in the beginning when I first started my business, but once I really learned how to run a business, every hour matters. And I don't think people realize this. And sometimes we get involved with things that we enjoy during our work time. And we tend to take away from our work where we could be building something that's going to be productive to build our business. And instead we're doing other stuff that we like that looks good, but it's not bringing in it's not going to bring anything in. It's not, you know, financially, it's not going to build your business or it's not going to build your monthly income in no such way, but you like to do it. It looks pretty maybe on the website or whatever. And, you know, so you end up getting caught into it. And before you know it, it's 12 o'clock when you started. And then all of a sudden you see it's 3 o'clock. You just wasted 3 hours. You know, what could have you done those 3 hours to build your business and elevate it?
I agree. And 3 hours of productive time. So I often say if you've got sort of those passion projects, those things that you enjoy doing, but aren't necessarily going to move the needle in your business, but yeah, sure, it would be nice to have updating a website. Will that make improvements to your business? Sure, it will, but it might not be as immediate to bring in money as, you know, sending an invoice to a client, for example, or returning a phone call for a client to get that next project, or bring deliverables for a client that gets you paid for that. You know, so what I would say for those types of projects that are kind of a little bit more fun is put those at the end of the day. Put those as something that, like, when you have a little less energy because it's something that you enjoy, might be a little less consuming for your mind. Those are something you're going to put closer to the end of the day. When it got a little less energy, but that way you're really taking those high energy times, those productive hours, and helping them to move the business forward in whatever that looks like to you. I think that, you know, this is a big thing. We've talked about this on your podcast. When I was on your podcast, I talked about my tip on prioritize your top 3 things every single day. Before you start your day, whether you do it the night before, first thing in the morning, identify what are the 3 things that if nothing else gets done today, these 3 things are going to get done. So when you get distracted by that fun thing that you like to do, like play around with your website, or I mean, how many people love just playing in Canva for 6 hours?
Yeah, exactly.
We can go down the rabbit hole. You know, so, or even just getting caught up on getting social media content created and done, whatever. So find those 3 things. What are those 3 things that you want to get done, and put them somewhere visual to you where anytime you get distracted, you got that, hold on a second, what was I supposed to be working on? And go back to it. You know, but like, if you want to take some breaks, like there are some projects that I work on that these are easily like a 3-4 hour project. But if I just work on it straight, you're kind of mushed by the end of it. So I have 2 hours into it, I'm going to take a break. And then I'm also going to take a work break, as in like, I'll take an actual break where I physically get up, move, whatever. But then when I come back, I'm going to focus on like, oh, maybe I'll spend 30 minutes replying to emails, or 30 minutes working on a quick little website fix, or 30 minutes responding to some social media messages, whatever. And then get back into the project. So yeah. Okay. So I love the idea, like I said, of just focusing on what you love and focusing on one thing as well. I think that is so critical, that like you can't be doing all the things yet. So
Yeah.
let's say they've got that one thing nailed down. How do they start scaling that then? Like, what is your best advice for like taking that one thing that they've got this passion and now they're like, well, if that be 6 other things that I want to do that I'm passionate about, how do they bring in that next thing? What are the next steps for them?
So the one thing I did was is that I see in a lot of people also, they I think it's so important to have people to help you because and a lot of people don't want to pay the money or they say I don't have the money. Well, if you're trying to do everything yourself, and you're spending all these hours, you're only getting a few things done, and you might not be able to do it as well as other people who are really good at doing it. So if you hire somebody or you hire 1 or 2 people that are really good at specific things and they help you. You focus on that one thing and then you create a package, for, you really, have to structure it. I think, like if you're good at that one thing, all right, create a package, create what they're getting, monitorize it and also create, let the people who are interested, your future consumers, what are they getting for this dollar? Why is it so valuable? What problems are you solving in their life that they need solved that they can't do or they don't have the time to do? And, make it short and concise and put it in a package. And then you could also have a conference call with them. I have buttons all over the place. They call me, call me, those 15-minute calls could do a lot. And it's so much better than texting because texting always gets, people don't never get the clear message or they build connection when they spoke to you. And then I started to branch out. Okay, I could do this. And if I do this, I could also, help them do this. And then package number 2 came, and then package number 3. And if they liked all these other things, I made a bundle, and then gave them a percentage off. And so I started to just like branch off in different areas. And then I had the customized package. Well, if you don't need this and you don't need that and you like this and you want this, talk to me and then we'll put something together for you,
Right.
So like, just working with people, seeing what their needs are, and then, that, really thinking about how long is it going to take each package, what, how much energy are you putting into it? How many hours are you putting into it? What is it taking you away? And then come up with a reasonable price that's feasible for the consumer and it's feasible for you. You're getting, for all the time you're putting into it. And then you keep making different packages so people understand and then be able to communicate those packages to people and make people realize why they're valuable and what they could do for the other person. And I think too, when you really love what you do and you're compassionate about it, it shows in your body language, it shows in your tone, it's like when you have people that are just doing it for the money and you have a person that's really excited and loves what they do, they're bouncing all over the place and talking to you.
Yes.
And then you have the other person, yes, I could do it for this and blah, 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 and
Yeah.
who are you going to really go with? Is the consumer going to go with the bubbly person that wants to conquer the world and make everything right for you? Or are they going to go with the person that's like, yes, I'm going to charge you? Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, exactly. I mean, ask how many people, like, if I gave you a microphone, sent you up on stage and asked you to speak for the next 30 minutes on XYZ, whatever it is that they do on a daily basis,
Yeah.
versus if I asked you to get up on stage and talk about this other topic that you're not really familiar with, like, which one sounds grueling to you and which one is like, yeah, just give me a microphone, I'll go. Like, you might actually be prepared for it, but sure, I can talk about it. I mean, I definitely say, like, I do a lot of coaching assessment calls. Like to your point, I'm always happy to do a free call with anyone. You never know where the conversation is going to go. And there's a lot that we can figure out in a 30-minute call. Yeah. Even if you choose not to work with me beyond that call, you're going to get some solid advice in that call. But there are times where I found that during that call, I'm talking to the person, I'm thinking either A, this person isn't the right fit for me. I'm not the right coach for this person. They need someone else for whatever reason. Or B, this person has certain things figured out, and I don't know that they necessarily need what I can offer right now. Like they would probably benefit from doing a few of these things on their own and maybe coming back to me in 6 months or a year or whatever. When I tell that someone's not the right fit, I'm going to be a little less passionate about trying to sell them on anything. Yes. I will admit there are times where I'll even say to them, you know what? I don't think you need me. I don't think this is the right direction for you. And I think they appreciate that. But there are times where I'm like, I could see it working, so I'll give them a proposal. I don't usually land those proposals because my passion wasn't in it. But when I know that, like, oh my gosh, like I would just love to work with this person, and I can see it's so clear in my head, all the things
Yeah.
that they could be doing to get them like, and how I can help them to get to that next step. Cause I can see, for me, I don't know about for you, but for myself, when I'm looking at someone, I'm looking at what is their drive? What is their purpose? What is their potential? And if I can see them being very coachable, I'm
Yeah.
usually going to be pretty excited to work with them. Those are the
Right.
ones that they're like, yeah, I'm going to sign up, and they don't care what the price tag is. They know that
Yeah.
they're going to get the value out of working with me because I'm so passionately committed to it. When you're
Yeah.
passionately committed to what you're doing, people are going to be drawn to that. And I call it the soft sell,
Yeah.
because it doesn't, at no point does it feel like a sales pitch. You're just
Yeah.
talking about something you enjoy. When you go to a restaurant, you ask someone, what's good there. It's going to be really easy for them to sell you on the things that they've actually had themselves. You say like, oh,
Yeah.
I had this for lunch today. Oh, it was to die for. And they can describe it in great detail. But if it's something they've never had before, they're going to kind of
Right.
struggle like, oh, I hear this one's good. And that's all
Yeah.
they've got to say about it, So when you're
Right.
passionate, it's so much easier for people to just be like, here's my money. Yes. Like, let me work with you.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Mhm.
it's okay to push away customers because you don't feel like they're the right fit. Like sometimes people will like, they feel like they have to make every sale, every sale. Well, no, sometimes it's better not to work with someone if they're not the right fit. If they're not going to benefit from it and you're not going to benefit, or they're going to be hard to work with because that, they might be a difficult, consumer. It's okay, say, well, I don't think we're a right fit for each other, and if you have someone that you could refer to, or, you just say it, just like that, it's okay. You don't have to make every single sale, and don't take it to heart. People get, upset sometimes, like, but you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
I think that's the best way when you're talking about the referral too. If you can refer them to someone else, you might be better suited. So maybe there's someone in their specific industry that that they can easily go to that might have a little bit more value to offer. I don't believe you have to be in the same industry as someone to be able to offer valuable coaching. Sometimes it's actually better when you're not, but on the circumstances, but there's been times, like I have one of my colleagues, for example, that her true passion is helping people to like launch their business, like that, getting in with them before they've even launched the business and working with them. And she absolutely loves that. That's not where my passion is. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't enjoy doing it. It's that where I love working with people is when they've been in business for a couple of years. They've built up that business. They've got that sort of proof of concept. But now they're like, now what? When they get stuck, that's when I like to, help to move them forward, So knowing who your clients are and being able to pass someone to someone else that has a bit more knowledge in that area, like you've got the health and wellness aspect that you can bring to your coaching, which is so valuable. There's so many people that are going to benefit from it. So it's easy for someone to refer someone who may be like, listen, they've got these business problems, but they're dealing with some dietary issues. They've been thrown a bit of a curveball when it comes to their health. They're trying to navigate balancing all of that. So they might get sent to you where you can kind of work on all facets of that, because as much as, you focus on the business and you've built such strong businesses, having that history of what you dealt with your health comes into play every single day for you, whether it's coaching or anything else in your life, So yeah. What would you say in terms of the people that you work with? Like, what's your biggest passion for what I mean, again, I know you work with both men and women, various businesses, but what would you say is sort of your core offering that you're like, this is where I really sink my teeth in?
I really love when people come on and they talk about different areas of self-help that really can change people's lives, and it affects really everybody. It affects everybody, because at some point in their lives they go through things, like even when you talk about burnout, or you talk about reducing stress, or you talk about like problems that are affecting them mentally, just anxiety and this and that. But when you go through life, we're stress hits us almost every day in one fashion or another. And, there's some people that come on, they have some great information on how to cope with these things. And it's like, wow, sometimes I feel like I'm getting therapy myself, just I like telling more.
I know it's not for me about being a podcast host, I think, because you're consuming knowledge as a part of your work. I mean, win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's so many people that like they center their whole entire life around their business and they forget about life itself, and then you have these people who come on and they show you how to make it easier. And almost every one of them say, don't make it your full focus, because you know what? We can't bring our businesses and our money with us when we go, so, we should really look at life and enjoy life. And the object of being successful is to work less and make more. Now, how do we do that?
Right.
And so it's like, that's the objective, that you're
Right.
hoping to achieve. And what a great thing when you can do something that is helping others and you love to do it, and it's making other people's lives easier. And as long as you know how to market yourself, and we could go into like so many different aspects, and but one thing about business is that don't feel bad about asking money for your services. That's the main thing. And learn how to scale yourself, and look at the prices that you're charging, and then look around and see what other people at your level are charging also. And then look and Google and ask Google what the majority of people that are doing your work are charging, and then say, look, let me look at my past history and everything I've been through and everything I've done, and all, and all the knowledge that I've attained, and what is my services valued at,
Yeah. Where do I want to position myself here?
Exactly. What's your quality compared to others? Because I've seen other people, that do what I do, but that they don't put their heart into it. I could just look and I'm like, oh my goodness, and it's like, what is my services worth, and how much am I going to help others, and that's where you have to like look at it. And then, slowly you could scale your business up and up and up and up. And, don't be afraid if you lose people, it's okay. Like when I first started, my business, like many moons ago, I underscaled myself because I didn't know a lot about scaling at that point.
Right.
And I wasn't into business. I learned how to run a business, and it changed my life. And, and then I upscaled what I was doing, and then I started changing my whole entire business. I changed everything, from logos to colors to the way I did things and my focus, and I got a coach that was a Fortune 500 coach, and he just liked me. He said, I'm going to coach you. And then he created a whole trajectory and a whole thing with me. And, in 3 months, I 10x my business. So it's like you get the right help, you get the right people in your life, and such little things, little changes in your life, and you can make such such a big change in your world. And you could do things that you love, and you don't have to stress, because once the money starts coming in and once the flowing starts coming in, you can really focus, you're not stressed. You can focus on what you love. And, I find that the less I focus on money, the more money I make. So it's really focus on what I love, because I'm putting all my energy into those things that I love to do, which is to help people. And I see such great changes, and you can tell because people pick up on that when they're looking, and they see the compassion in you, and then they see, all these different things you're doing and how you're helping others and how well it's working for others, and getting those testimonials from others, praising, what you did for them. People are like, wow, and then you start creating, the business starts just flowing, and you get that snowball effect. But if you constantly like stressing you're out about the dollar bill, you forget why you're in it in the first place. You're not focusing on the things you need to focus on, and you kind of get lost, and you kind of, it's an adverse effect that comes onto the business.
That's when you take on clients, for example, that aren't necessarily the right fit. They're going to cause you more headaches than anything else. Whereas you could have just refocused your energies to really get someone who actually wants to use your services, wants to pay you what you're worth. But yeah, I think you're so right, though. When you're focusing on the money, it's the wrong driver. Plain and simple, it's the wrong driver, and you're not going to be able to sell yourself authentically. Whereas if you can just, if you're saying to someone, listen, I'm happy to help you. It's up to you whether you want to move forward with me, but here's how I know that I can make a real positive impact in your life, whatever that looks like, whether you're an electrician or a hairstylist or, a cat groomer, like whatever you're doing. You could have a super niche business where you make clothes for iguanas. I mean, I don't know, like whatever it is, you're helping people, and focus on how you're going to be helping those people. And that will help you to grow your business. So also, I think clothing for iguanas is a super cool business.
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, how cool would that be? I would love to see like a little iguana with a little hat on, like a little sun hat, little jacket going on,
I mean, I used to have a gecko. I had a crested gecko years ago, and I don't think I could have got him to keep any clothes on by any means, but super cool idea. Anyway, listen, Stacey, this has been absolutely incredible. if people want to find you, if they want to maybe have one of these calls with you to kind of learn where they're at, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can look at staceychillemi.com. So it's STACEYCHILLEMI.com. I have another website called coachstaceychillemi.com, but they're all connected. So you could probably just go to staceychillemi.com and you'll find everything on there. And I just, I do coaching. I help people. I even help people with podcasting. I create podcasts for people. I promote them and I help to produce them. I help people grow in their businesses, and I absolutely love self-improvement and health. So, we have a great podcast called The Advisor and with Stacey Chillemi, and we have people from all walks of life come on and they talk about all different topics that will help improve your life, which I love because they tap into so many different areas of life, from mental health to physical health to spiritual health to business, and all different things that people could apply to their lives to make it a better place. So, you can go to my website, you can check out our podcasts, and my books are there, and any type of questions, just shoot me an email. You'll find me all over the place. You just Google my name, you'll find me, and then just contact me and I'll be happy to get back to you.
Amazing. And it's so easy to see why you've been so successful at everything that you've done, because you are so passionate about it and you've got just an absolute wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing it with everyone today. So appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for those kind words. I appreciate it. I love you, Shauna.
Yeah. And so listen, if you're listening to this episode and what we're saying here is resonating with you, then I hope you'll tune in again next week and allow me to continue to be a part of your journey. Be sure to leave us a review, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, everyone, keep thriving. Thank you.
Thank you.